Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co.
I'm Professor Mac.
And today we're reviewing Parks Roll and Hike from Keymaster Games. Parks Roll and Hike, designed by Andreea Dumuta. Is there another co-designer of this? I actually don't know. I don't know if there's a co-designer. Is there a co-designer?
I wouldn't know.
Because I vaguely recall there may have been a co-designer. Designers, Andreea Dumuta and Maddox Scholler. I was right.
Nice.
Maddox from Keymaster. I vaguely thought there was, and I didn't want to just give credit to Henry in case there wasn't. In any case, Parks Roll and Hike, designed by Henry and Maddox. This is a play on Parks, on the original Parks from Keymaster and Henry previously, and this takes that core idea and brings it into a roll and hike game. Do you want to go ahead and explain the game?
Absolutely. So in the game, you are going to have this board here, and you're going to be traveling over the course of 3 different days. And throughout those 3 different days, you're going to be using these dice, and every player is going to have these cute little journals. So there are 4 journals that the game comes with, and you're all going to have your own to write in, where you're going to go to a fresh page. And then you are going to go over the course of 3 days where you're trying to score as many points as possible. And to do so, you are going to be both finding different landmarks and recording about them in your journal. You're going to be discovering different animals. You're going to be finding water as well as recording sun. And you're going to be using that along with the special rules of the park that you're playing in to score points. So to do so, every round, through the 3 days, you're going to play through this track, and every round you're going to roll the dice. So Alex, if you want to roll the dice. And then players are going to take turns drafting these dice. Now, when you draft them, you're going to get the different things that I mentioned. So you're going to have things like the animals. If you get the pencil, you're able to either draw in, for a pencil, you're able to squiggle in for one of these journals. But before you do so, you would need a symbol like this mountain here to be able to draw the mountain into the journal, and then you'll be able to record your findings for it. On top of that, you have things like suns, which will give you different bonuses. You can collect those. And you have water, which will give you points every round at the end of each day. So players are going to take their turns drafting these different dice for whatever works best for them at the current moment. And then once this orange die is drafted, that will be the end of the round. The player that does draft this orange die gets to take a special bonus when you get to this area. So for example, here we have the flower symbol, which is one of the park symbols. And the player that drafted that die would be able to fill in a circle here for the flower ability, or be able to record a flower within one of these boxes. Then all players are able to record the little squiggle that's after this, just to show you, actually I'll go back a page to show you what that would look like. So you have these where the squiggles are filled in. That's representing that you have completed your journal for that particular type of thing that you've recorded. So you're going to be moving throughout the day for each of these symbols, and players will be gaining those different bonuses for whoever gets them. And then at the end of the day, there are sunset abilities as well that will trigger, such as how many water you have accumulated. You'll get points every round for those. And if you have certain circles filled in here, you will get different bonuses as well. So on top of that, every time you play, you're going to pick a park to play with. Here we have Acadia National Park, which is in Maine. And when you do that, it's going to have this particular symbol, which is kind of like a wild symbol, and each park has its own symbol that you'll be drawing in. So for this one, it's the acorn, and they're going to give you different abilities. And in this one, I believe the acorn ability, when you fill in that journal, you are able to draw in a tree or a flower, and it has a special sunset ability that you are able to play a sun to take the bonus of journals you've completed. Another thing that it does is it affects endgame scoring. For example, here, any animals that you are scoring for, you'll get ×2 instead. Now for animals, you score for what's been filled in. So you can see here with my row of fish and my row of turtles filled out, I'm getting 3, 2, and 1 points for this one, but because I only have 1 bear, I'm only getting 3 points for what is between these 2 boxes. So that can be really strong when you're playing with this park because it's going to multiply all those points ×2.
I will say on a personal note, Acadia is probably one of my favorite parks because I kind of like the animal bonuses, and it really has you leaning into them.
It is. It's very nice. I definitely will say not all parks feel created equal, and I do really like that one.
And then as well, there's also a solo mode to dive into, which the solo mode is going to be a small difference as far as how you draft dice and how you're trying to. The scoring is pretty similar, but you're trying to draft dice in a slightly different puzzle every single round. But the core engine of the game is going to be similar, and you can go through the challenges there. But with that, let's go ahead and dive into our review, starting off with what we like, which for me, overall, I'll start off with the fact that this game does have cascading bonuses. This is a game that has, you do this and you get that, but then you start getting things and it starts happening very quickly. So on a turn, you draft a thingy. That thing might have 2 stuff over here. Let's say we grab this animal. That's going to result in me going ahead and filling in a box here, which will get me the points over there, but it's also going to give me water. That water is going to go over here on this chart. Meanwhile, you're getting bonuses. These bonuses are going to score you things every single round. So as you fill in these boxes, you're not just working towards something for this round, you're getting those. If you get these early on, you're possibly getting them 3 times. If you get them a little mid-game, 2 times. And if you get them at the end of the round, it's not as worth it. Sometimes it's still reasonable to get them. But you are going to find yourself in situations, because of the cascading nature of stuff, that you're going to be getting 3, 4 things right back to back. And those turns are always fun. I do like cascading bonuses in a roll and write game.
And I devoured the solo mode of this. I played every single park in the solo mode. And I have to say, I really do love the variability of the game. Between the dice and these being different every time they come out, because these are shuffled, these little tokens, as well as playing with the different parks, it really is a completely different game every time you play, especially between the different parks.
Yeah, the other parks is going to be the other thing I want to highlight, which having the park variety does change up the game experience every single time you play. So you have the core idea of the game, which is going to be fairly static, but then the parks are going to give you those slight adjustments. Like, are you trying to get a little more sun this game? Do you have more ways to spend sun? Do you going for those animals? Those are going to shift up what you can get and what you're trying to puzzle through as you go. So I really appreciate the variety, and I also appreciate how easy it would be to plug and play future parks into expansions as well. So the parks is definitely the other thing I want to focus on.
I also really like the pacing of this game. I really enjoy roll and rights, and I think the pacing of it for it being those 3 days and the number of rounds, especially with the player counts changing, I think that it's just paced really well to, it just feels like it ends when it naturally should. I feel like some games you end up ending and feeling like, I wish I just had one more turn to really get where I needed to go. And I feel like this, it really does come together really nicely, that you can't really get everything, but you feel like you got everything you tried to do.
Speaking of pacing, which is a way, it depends. Do you have more things you want to cover in the like category?
Yes. So I really...
Pacing is a nice transition for me on things I don't like, but we'll
So, as
hold
someone
off.
who loves roll and rights, I really like cartographers, and I color it and I make it look very, very pretty. And for this, I really love this little journal that you get to keep. So like I said, I did the solo mode, and we can look through it. See, it started off uglier. It's not as good, but then it gets very pretty, that you end up with this like real, this little book that you get to keep forever. And I just really like that. At first I wasn't sure if I liked it because you're playing with everyone and you can't rip them out, but I really like everything like kept together in the little journal.
As far as things we don't like, I'll start off leading off on the pacing over there, because the first thing I don't like about the game is the nature of it being 3 rounds and having bonuses you earn every single round. Might be a me thing, but when you have something that you earn a bonus for every round, if you don't get that in round 1, if you don't get one of these bonuses in round 1, you're getting a full third less of those bonuses. So that same thing you're working towards, you're getting a third less if you don't get it in the first round. And if you don't get it in the second round, you're only getting a third than the maximum potential. This might be a bit of more of a me thing in general. When you have earned income every round, I like the game rounds to last a little longer or have some way to pace around that, because otherwise it just feels like, okay, well, I didn't get it round 1. I shouldn't even bother trying. And you should. That's the problem. The problem is you should try. It still does matter. It still is worth it. But just the feeling is so much less like, I don't love earned income in a game as short as 3 rounds. It just makes the experience to me feel a bit less satisfying.
And I will say they are expensive. Those things that you're trying to get, it's very difficult to get. And that was something that I was kind of saying about it. The game can really change in what you want to do depending on the symbols that come out. Because if some of these you never rolled, like the flower, like you just cannot get that ability. So it can be very difficult. And one other thing for me is that I feel like some of the parks, not all of them feel the same. And some of them, what it adds just doesn't really add much. I want to say it was the Death Valley one I felt just didn't add as much as I wanted it to. So some of them were really great and fun, but some of them it just didn't really change the game the way I wanted it to.
For me, the other thing is a kind of a generic complaint. I don't know how to really illustrate this, but I'll say that to a certain extent, this game felt like cascading bonuses by the numbers. And I don't know if I'll be able to explain this as well as I'd like, but there's a lot of roll and write games that have cascading bonuses. You earn this to earn that, you earn this to earn that. You get all these various things, and they chain into like this little puzzle of how to best work within that system. I don't know exactly how best to explain this, but for me, Parks Roll and Write felt a little bit like it's cascading bonuses by the numbers. It felt like it was trying to be like, how are we at cascading bonuses game? Well, if you get this, you'll get that. And if we go this chart, you get this, you get that. Which all cascading games are this. This is why I'm having trouble defining how I feel about this complaint. All cascading bonus roll and writes are inherently that. But I think some of them feel like they mesh better, and this one kind of almost felt like it's like, we have to make this a thing that we're doing in the game. It didn't feel as smooth. It kind of felt like disparate elements, so you're just checking it off.
And for me, another thing, and this is small and nitpicky, but as someone who loves parks, this does not directly translate to parks.
No.
The art is not the same. And that, I think, it would be the one thing to tie it through, because I understand they're two completely different games, and there are certain things you're going for, but even having, like, the canteen and the water, it just doesn't feel like parks or look like parks. And even these, I just wish it almost, felt more in the same universe if it's going to be in the same universe.
Yeah, the theme is the only thing that really carries over. Art and mechanics don't carry over at all.
Yeah, because I love these journals, but I just wish it did feel a bit more like it was all in the same world.
Although, speaking of journals as well, this is not a problem for me personally, but inherently whenever you have a limited number of sheets that are not like a huge amount, you'll have some people that are focusing on, like, how little, how unoften, that's not the right word, how many plays you can get out of this game.
Laminate it.
For me, I think you can get enough, and you can obviously laminate or print sheets or things like that. And there's also multiple journals, so if you're not playing at a full 4-player count, you'll have that flexibility. But it is worth noting, this is definitely thinner than a typical pad you get in a roll and write game.
And this is not a like or dislike, it's just something to note, but as someone who really loves roll and writes, this is a very tight roll and write, so just know that going into it, that like this is how big your sheet is, this is the amount of things you're going to accomplish, that some roll and writes you can really do a lot, and where there are some cascading bonuses, it's very tight. You're not going to get a ton, and you're never going to get everything. It's not that type of a game, so just know that like when you're getting into it, if you like that or not, it's a very tight roll and write.
Before we move to final thoughts, I'll mention one thing I forgot to mention, which is these notebooks, these journals, have lots of little fun tidbits about the parks in the front and rear covers, little factual information in case, that's not like a play rate, just in case you wanted to know different little tidbits about the national parks.
And I don't know if I said it, but just to say specifically about the solo mode, I feel like that was more satisfying than playing with other people. There's a lot more choice, and it's, again, a lot tighter of a game that I enjoyed the solo mode more. That being said, the solo mode really relies on sunlight, and you really have to go for that first. There's one ability here for the flower that lets you get 2 sun per round. You can see I unlocked it. That's pretty much, you have to go for that to be able to do really well in the solo mode, but apart from that, I found it really satisfying.
As far as final thoughts, for me, I'll go first in this one. For me, Parks Roll and Write, it's a game I wanted to love. It's designed by Henry Odman and Matt Scheller, and it's from the Parks universe, so to speak. It's from Keymaster. I walked into this very, very excited. I was like, I love Parks. I want to see what they do with this one. And unfortunately for me, it's not a bad game, but I definitely, my end result is a whole lot less excited than I was initially. This is a fine game. I've played it solo, I've played it multiplayer, I've enjoyed it, but it doesn't feel like it does anything particularly special for me, aside from the theme aspect, which is if you want a nature-themed roll and write, this does a good job, having that general theme. Not the parks theme so much, so to speak, but the general theme of a light nature relaxing game. But mechanically speaking, this one for me felt like it was fine. It did an okay job. Nothing great, nothing bad. It's a 3 out of 5 for me.
For me, it is a little bit higher, because, so I'm going to rate this at a 3.5, and that is because I did really enjoy the solo mode, that for as much as it did, I wanted more from it, but I still kept going. So there's something about that in there that even though I could feel I wasn't completely satisfied by it, I kept going, and I kept trying all of the different parks. And I do still feel like this is something I could take somewhere with me, because it's very small for the solo mode. It's like you need this pamphlet, your park, your paper, this board, and the stuff, and that's it. So it is very small and easy to take places, that I think as a solo game, if you're a solo gamer, definitely check it out. That's where I think it shines.
In that case, recommendations. I
Yes.
almost forgot. I was going to go to the end of the video. As far as other game recommendations, for me, I'm going to go to the...
I'm waiting to say mine.
What's yours?
Mine is the Cascadia roll and writes.
No, that's a good one though. That is, speaking of nature themed roll and writes, that is
Yeah,
also a good
I
one.
think that one gives you the same feeling as well as, you know, being like very calming. You're working within nature. You're still doing like a very good puzzle, but, you know, it gives you that feel.
For me, mine's going to be That's Pretty Clever, or The Ganshun Clever. I think it's the original game that popularized cascading bonus roll and writes, and I think it still does a great job. There's several in the series. I think the original is still my favorite personally, but they're all fun ways of just checking off boxes, scoring different things, check off more boxes, and do so as much as you possibly can to score as high as you possibly can.
You know the deal.
In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co.
I'm Professor Meg.
And have a good one.
Bye.